Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
All right, here we go, guys. Welcome in another edition of the College Basketball Tip-Off Show, powered by WagerTalk.com on this Tuesday, February the 23rd. It is a loaded card tonight in college hoops, and we've got, of course, our 4 games that we are going to break down for you, and those 4 games will include Kansas and Texas. We're going to talk Gators and Auburn, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech. And we're going to even mix in a little St. Louis Billikens versus VCU in a matchup I think that should be better than most people think. And we're going to do that with 3 of the very best here at WagerTalk.com. Let's welcome in, stepping up to the plate, of course, Stevie Merrill. That is 2 R's and 1 L, hanging with us here today. Fresh off the NBA show where he signed autographs and dropped a whole bunch of props, including a microphone, which was a lot of fun. Below him was the person shaking their head at him the entire time. That would be Rob Vino, back in the house here today. And the neighbor downstairs, he's back. Ralph Michaels here. Guys, take a look at these Twitter handles, too. All of them. Every one of them. Great opportunity for you guys to have some fun. Great information there. At Steve Merrill, at Rob Vino Sports, at Cal Sports LV. And Merrill, welcome in, my man, College Basketball Show. It's good to have you on because you have been absolutely crushing college hoops all season, my man. So how you been, and what do you got going on at WagerTalk.com tonight?
Yeah, we had a rare loss last night on Monday in college hoops, and it is a rare loss because we entered 46-21 on the season, and guess what? It was by half a point with St. Mary's and a free throw miss at the end. That line was 5 in some spots, but I'm honest, I try to use the consensus line, so I'm counting it as a loss, although I did hear from some clients they got a push. So 46-22 now on the season. I do have 2 best bets for Tuesday night, 1 in college and 1 in pro right now at WagerTalk.com, and I made a 2-for-1 special. So if you'd like to get on board that 46-22 college basketball season, you're basically getting the NBA play for free.
All right, love it. It's good to see you here, man. It's going to be a great card here tonight. Rob Vino, man, you continuing to dominate not only in the NBA but in basketball in general. So has it been going since the last we spoke? And what do you got going on tonight at Wager Talk?
Yeah, college has actually taken a huge uptick here, Joe. 12-3 run in college hoops, 80% over the last 15. Marching my way up the Wager Talk leaderboard there. NBA's been great all season. I think it's I'll say 4 to be sure of myself. It could be 5 consecutive winning days overall. So in a real good groove right now. Looking to continue that here today. Plays up and available after 12 noon Pacific. So not that far from now, about 60 minutes, we'll start getting them up there.
All right, and of course, the man, Ralph Michaels. Ralph, how was your night last night, my man? And what do you got going on today at Wager Talk?
Split 2 plays. Did win my 4% best bet. I was the opposite side of Steve, so I benefited from a missed free throw on the last shot. 4% best bets in college basketball, 65%, going 35-17. 2 4% plays today. 1 is an early tip. 1 is one of the last tips on the board. Check them out, WagerTalk.com.
You know, I know some of the best bets from the show yesterday, too, were good. I know you were all over Pepperdine, was getting 6 points in that one there against St. Mary's, so that worked out. I know Eastern Kentucky as well. I do believe Dave Koken was on that, so there were some opportunities yesterday, certainly on the best bets here. You can take a look at the sheet. Eastern Kentucky was good. Brian Leonard had Southern Illinois. My luck, New Mexico and Air Force shoot over 65% for the first time in 20 years, so congratulations there as the over hits. The gold sheet also, Citadel Mercer, they like the under. That was a winner, and we had some performances yesterday, too, last night that were pretty impressive, including our friends from Drake, who, Ralph, they continue to get an awful lot of press here from the Missouri Valley. Drake seems to be the media darlings this year, and they continue to deliver.
Back-to-back back-to-back days we saw him on the top of the leaderboard. Yep. So you want to talk about putting the team on your back with a point guard being injured. All he does is put up 36 points, plays all 40 minutes in that game. So like I said, I thought Drake was really overrated. They've shown me so much, winning that second Loyola game and then winning the next game after that, not having a letdown after that win.
Yeah, no, it was good stuff there. Some of the top covers from yesterday's card there. You see the Mercer Citadel game at the top. Also, Eastern Kentucky, Southeast Missouri State. They got a little revenge in that one. And Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, what a game that was. I don't know, Rob, if you had a chance to watch that game last night, I don't know if you were on it or not, but Oklahoma State goes into overtime in Stillwater, in Henry Ivan, gets it done. So kudos to Oklahoma State and Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, well, Joe, as fate would have it, I was on it, and I was so glad that the final shot of regulation hit the front rim and bounced off to force overtime, because at 132 at the end of regulation, I felt pretty confident we would get over 138.5, which we did. It was a struggle in overtime. I don't think the winning points as far as the total is concerned came through till there was about 1:05 left, but there was some great stuff down the stretch in that game, Joe. Big-time plays, big-time buckets by both sides. Texas Tech hung in, actually grabbed an offensive rebound, a kick out, and then fired back underneath to an open player under the rim to tie that thing and send it into regulation. So, again, Oklahoma State, led by Cade Cunningham, really good. But Mac McClung and Texas Tech just on the short end of what was a really good game. Worked out for us, though, as did, real quick here, I heard Ralph say he was on the opposite side of Steve and he won.
Yeah.
So let me be the second guy here to say that I was on the opposite side of Steve and I won. I had Charlotte Golden State over last night, which came through pretty easy. So rough night. Good night to not team up with Steve. That's usually not a good thing, though.
He's throwing bombs.
Which game? The Jazz, Rob?
Hey, wait a minute. Hold on. He's not down all the way yet. Let's kick him one more time because he's only down to his knees. So, Joe, do you have anything you want to kick him?
Look at Vino just reeling him in. Vino's just reeling him in. I love it, man. Very nice, Rob.
Joe, let me ask you this. Hey, Joe, we know you're an alum of Oklahoma State.
Right.
15-6. Are they in? Do they have to split against Oklahoma? Do they have to win one of them? At 15-8, if they lose to Oklahoma both times, are they in or not?
Well, I think sweeping Texas Tech helped them. I do think they are in. I think if they get 1 out of 2 from Oklahoma as well, I think they'll sign their ticket, provided they can actually, they can get in and all of that good stuff with the NCAA. But I do think it's coming here, Ralph. I think that's a freight train that's coming together, getting a little healthy at the right time. Keep an eye on Oklahoma State here. Not a team I would want to play as a number 7 or 8 seed for sure. Air Force, New Mexico, thanks again for bringing that up there. Appreciate that, Will. Guys in the back, as far as the totals go there yesterday, once again, that was way over 11.5, as was Presbyterian and Charleston Southern. I do want to let you guys know, though, best bets are up and available at WagerTalk.com. And, of course, you guys can absolutely visit their pages under the experts column there. Just go see Steve Merrill, go see Rob Vino, go see Ralph Michaels, grab a 3-day, 7-day, or a 30-day all-access pass, and never miss a play. All right, guys, let's dive into it. Game number 1 up on the board. We'll stick in the Big 12. Why not? Let's talk about Kansas and Texas, 2 teams that are going to do battle here tonight. Texas opens up as a 2-point favorite in this one, as the total hovered around that 140 mark as an open. And, Steve, I'm going to come to you first, so this way Rob knows who to go against. So why don't we get your thoughts here on this game? Texas needs a win here. Kansas seems to be riding high, maybe getting hot and finally turning a corner over the weekend against Texas Tech. Maybe that's what they needed. How do you see this game going down tonight?
Well, first of all, if I had to have a rare bad night, and it was a rare bad night, then I'm glad my friends benefited from it and we're on the other side. And I even helped you, Joe Raineri, on Wager Talk today. I mentioned Texas Tech to go against your alma mater, and it bit me as well. So I helped all 3 of you in that regard last night on Monday. Glad to do so. Hopefully we're all on the same side tonight so we can win together. As you know, Joe, I've been doing that top 25 weekend video for Saturdays, and this is a top 20 matchup tonight, 17 against 14. So I've talked about both Kansas and Texas quite a lot the last few weekends on that video preview. Both of them made it last week. Texas Tech lost at Kansas. Kansas got the win. Texas lost against West Virginia, the two games I used last Saturday on that video. And as I mentioned, both Texas schools were in tough scheduling spots last week with the layoffs, the disruption with the weather. Texas Tech had some COVID issue disruptions earlier this season. Texas Tech went out and lost straight up ATS. Texas also lost straight up ATS. Texas Tech actually played better in the second half. Texas blew a 10-point halftime lead and lost surprisingly in the second half. But as we've seen, sometimes teams fade without that game shape, that game preparation after being off for over a week. I do think Texas plays better tonight. On the surface, it looks like a good setup for them off the loss against a Kansas team that's now won 5 straight up and against the spread. They're playing excellent basketball, but they are coming off that big win against Texas Tech at home and having to travel now. I think the situational setup here probably favors Texas if we get a true performance from them tonight.
You know, Ralph, we talked about that Kansas-Texas Tech game last week heading into the weekend, and we weren't sure if Kansas had turned that corner or not. It was debatable. Now, after what you've seen heading into that game, have they in fact turned a corner in your mind?
Well, yeah, I mean, they could score, but now they're playing defense at an incredible level. Last 5 opponents shooting 36.3%. So, you know, I'm going to make this simple. Texas, when they get the ball, they try pushing the pace. It'll be harder to do against Kansas. Teams have trouble against Texas's defense pushing the pace. I'm simply looking at it under. I think it's a battle that both teams feel they want to keep that momentum. I do have a question that, you know, I'd like to bring it up now because now's the time of the year we're coming to it. And, you know, a lot of times novices say, oh, it's homecoming, and they think that's a positive in football. Where actually, if you track homecoming records, it's actually a negative because the kids are distracted and families are in town. So, Rob and Steve, I want to ask you guys, do you give any credence to senior night, which it is tonight in Texas at home? And Texas is a rare team that has 2 senior starters with Sims and Coleman. So do you guys, either of you guys, use that at all as a positive or a negative?
Rob?
Well, I'll say that obviously this year is a unique circumstance, right? You won't have 20,000 to applaud these kids on senior night. Again, with me, I'm it's kind of boring because I give the same answer to a lot of these questions, but I do think that they're all circumstantial. There's just no blanket statement for me whether or not one senior night means more than another. I do think some have meaning, certainly, but then there's a bunch that I don't apply anything to. I'll say this, Ralph. I don't think I assign any firm numeric number to it in my handicap. So to me, it's just all situational. And this year, with not a lot of people being in the stands, I don't know if it makes a difference at all.
What do you think there, Ralph? I mean, you asked it, so answer it. Any correlation whatsoever to how you're going to go in this game?
I don't. I mean, it's not quite the negative of homecoming, but, I know when you read and, after the fact, senior night is a little bit different because it's just that one instance. It's not your entire week. And, I've seen some big performances of seniors. So, it's a by instance case, but I just don't want people, Rob gave the answer. It really isn't. It's different. So I just don't want people to have the blanket statement, oh, it's senior night. This team has seniors. I want to play on them.
God, it's a crazy thing here, too, Rob. When you look at this thing, we've got, what, a 19-point lead that evaporated for them last game here at UT. So you look at this game here, it opened up as a 2. I'm seeing 2.5. How are you going to go in this matchup?
Yeah, the first thing that came to mind, I just happened to, on Saturdays, I think we're all the same. We're constantly watching multiple games and flipping channels during commercials to find other games. And I happened to stumble on that sideline argument between Courtney Ramey and Andrew Jones of Texas, which really began the demise of the Texas Longhorns in the second half of that game. I think they're outscored 34-18 after that happened. But that incident didn't look good. Those guys had to be separated. Now, I'll say this, Courtney Ramey has come out and said, listen, it was the heat of the moment, which 90% of the time it is heat of the moment when teammates argue. And we've put it all behind us. But I think it'll be interesting tonight to see in this game against Kansas, a team right now that's surging. As you mentioned, Joe, West Virginia with the 19-point comeback. It seems in the Big 12 this year, you can find these double-digit comebacks in the second half. West Virginia seems to be involved in a lot of them. But it was Sean McNeil on Saturday for West Virginia that started lighting it up from 3, and they walk off with a victory. So I don't know how Texas bounces back, honestly. I think you could handicap that either way. You can backfit it after the game's over and say you knew it was going to be nothing or it was going to be something. I'm not sure. But Kansas is playing real well. Ralph hit on it defensively. The defensive field goal percentage numbers are outstanding over the course of the last 5 or 6. Kansas has a monster revenge angle in this game. Blown out 84-59 in Allen Fieldhouse by this team way back in early January. I think that probably applies here more than any senior night factor. I think KU will be fired up to get revenge against this team. Can they reverse a 25-point outcome? The way these two teams are playing right now, or at least the way Kansas is playing right now, I think they can. Shaka Smart has referred to this game tonight as a watershed game for his team. Bill Self, and I'm going to go all Teddy covers here and come up with some quotes, but Bill Self had some interesting things to say. He said, it's the best we've played since Christmas. We actually played better offense than what we scored because we missed a lot of really good looks that I think we should have made a higher percentage on. I'm leaving this building feeling the best I've felt in a long time about this group. I still think there's another step this team can take. I don't know that I disagree with him. I think there is another step that this team can take, especially, I think Ralph hinted at it, if they begin to play consistent offense, because the defense is there right now. If it were me, I'd be looking Kansas. Can't argue against the under, but I think Kansas looks like a pretty live spot here.
Yeah, we're going to learn a lot about this Texas program, this Texas team, and Shaka Smart as a coach, and see if they can come back after that meltdown over the weekend. Another team melting down here, guys. We'll head over to the SEC, Florida and Auburn. Now, Florida snaps a 2-game losing streak over the weekend. A good win against Georgia. They've kind of boat raced Georgia early and then held on. Georgia got the cover eventually in that game. I know that. But the total is 154.5, and to open up as Auburn to pick them here. The reality is, Ralph, they've lost 5 of their last 6 games. They just got blown out by LSU. How are you approaching this game?
You know, you watch Auburn, and it happens a lot. When you have an NBA player at point guard like Sharif Cooper, first 5-star at Auburn for basketball for a long time, I think the team just gets too reliant on him. And, you know, he does dish the ball well, but, you know, they need him to score. He does score a lot. I think 5 games, 25 points or more, or 20 more, leading freshman. So to me, it just seems Auburn really has just become one-sided, too reliant on him, but they're still pressing pace. Florida's pressing pace. Florida, you know, finally got off the schneid as well. And they had lost 2 in a row to South Carolina and Arkansas before. You know, a 7-point win against Georgia is not that impressive when you look at the body of work. But you look at who they've played pace-wise, and I think Florida wants to run more. I think Auburn's going to run more. The total's on the high side, but in this game, I would lean with the over here tonight.
Yeah, you know, Steve, looking at the market here, it opened up as a pick-em. Obviously, it's headed towards Auburn's way. -2 right now, total holding strong at 154.5. There's no motivation for Auburn. They're not going to the postseason. There's no March Madness for them. They know that. How do you trust the team to lay points in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, motivation's the key for me when handicapping all these games, especially regular season NBA. I mean, it's all about which team is going to show up on a given night. But that kind of goes back to Ralph's, question about last home games, senior nights, and whatnot. It's just another aspect I look at as far as motivation. I think in years past it was worth a little bit more when the stands were full. Mid-major schools that have 4 or 5 seniors, but like Rob said, we pick and choose our spots here with these Power 5 teams, these one-and-done schools. Maybe it's worth a point or two here or there, but it's kind of like revenge for me. I use it as a selective filter for these games. And I do worry about the motivation of both these teams, Florida and Auburn. Florida has a little bit more to play for, obviously. Auburn does not. It's shown they're just 1-5 straight up their last 6. They've only covered once in their last 6 games. That's not the type of team I'm all of a sudden asked to do something for me. By the way, they've gone over in 7 of their last 8. So not a surprise that they're losing games and not playing good defense, because I think defense is a lot about motivation. So couldn't disagree with the over there with Ralph. One thing I'd be a little careful with maybe is the first half over. I'd rather see the full game over, because Florida red hot in their game on Saturday from 3-point range, and then they went 1 for 13 in the second half from beyond the arc, and that is why Georgia closed that game to single digits, made the final score look a little bit more respectable. So we'll see if that cold shooting carries over for Florida in the first half tonight.
Yeah, they're a tough team, Rob. This Auburn, from a motivational standpoint, the total is interesting here because it hasn't moved an ounce. So how are you going to approach this game here tonight?
Well, I'm going to third the opinion on over, probably a little stronger than the two guys in front of me. But I'm going to backtrack a little bit, guys, because we had Florida on this show last Tuesday. They were coming off that 13-day pause. They were playing Arkansas. I had thought that maybe it would take them a half to get adjusted to basketball. They did play lousy in the first half against Arkansas, got us a cover at -2. In that game, they shoot only 38% from the floor. It's understandable. They were off for a while. The second game off of their pause was against Georgia on Saturday. Now, remember, this game against Georgia was second time around for Florida, Georgia. First time, very high scoring, very good shooting. When you watched it Saturday, it looked a little bit like there was familiarity. There might have been some adjustments made. It led to lesser shooting on both sides, a lower scoring game. Maybe that's a little bit understandable. But to Ralph's point, what hasn't changed for Florida is their desire to go up tempo. They played 17 games this season. According to Ken Pom, 14 of those 17 have had 70 possessions or more. And what's now become, the SEC track and field open for most of these teams, right? You go down that list of tempo for the SEC, everybody plays fast with the exception of maybe the bottom 4. So Florida is certainly one of those teams. They will run with Auburn here tonight. Auburn, I think, and again, I don't know who made the point. Maybe it was you, Joe, about them having nothing to play for. Mm-hmm. And I kind of threw that in here a little bit. I do use that somewhat in this handicap where Auburn, just looking at the way they performed overall in their last few games. I'm going to go back 8 games. In their last 8 games, 7 of those have totaled 156 or better. Tonight, we're looking at 154, I think maybe 154.5. 6 of those games hit 162 or better. 5 of those hit 170 or better. So to me, Auburn is just a team at this point that knows they're not going anywhere. There's nothing to play for. I don't want to say roll out the balls, but Bruce Pearl has sort of been kind of a roll out the balls coach. So maybe I can use that phrase here. To just state how strong that is, 4 of those 7 games that Auburn went over, they held their opponent to 43% shooting or less. So even if the other side shoots lousy, these games still go over because there are so many possessions, so many opportunities. I think Florida and Mike White will take advantage of that. I think another added element, something exterior-wise, Florida has not seen Sharif Cooper yet. I think they'll be surprised at his quickness and ability to get to the rim. That probably takes them a little bit first half by storm. Auburn right now, when they played the other day, it was their 3rd worst shooting performance of the season. They shot lousy. The game still got to 184 because they gave up 104, right? But in the other 2 games where they shot poorer than what they shot on Saturday, they bounced back following game with 90 points and with 80 points. To me, 154.5, it looks large when you're staring at it, but I don't think it's too large here. So for me, it will probably be over the 154, 154.5.
It's interesting, Rob. It's actually a bit of good news here. When you started actually that game breakdown, Steve Merrill went 13-2 in that time frame. So he's back in the winning column, which is fantastic. He's already covered 15 games there, which is why, Merrill, I'm coming to you for Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, my man. Make it winner number 14 as Va Tech lays 3.5. They haven't been on the court, and it feels like forever. I think 3 games missed. They had some suspension problems, taking on a Georgia Tech team that just literally ran over Miami. To take a quote out of Rob there, you talk about rolling the balls out on the court. Oh, my, they just destroyed Raineri and company here in Miami. But they also are pretty good on the road here. 15 covers in the last 22 on the road. How do you look at Tech in this one, now up to 3.5?
Yeah, this is something you and I have talked a lot about, Joe, on Saturdays when we're live on Sirius XM channel 204 from noon to 2 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. We keep talking about these games, where these teams have been off for multiple weeks. Some get to practice more than others. Virginia Tech was shut down, I believe, due to COVID issues, so I think their practice has probably been limited. And these teams, it's not always a play against in the first or second half, but one thing I have noticed is that they very rarely have 2 good halves. If they do happen to come out strong in the first half like Texas did last week when they were off for a week, then they fall apart in the second half. And in fact, I think the second half, these teams have been a little bit weaker overall, which makes a lot of sense because of fatigue sets in and other issues from not playing in game conditions. But that is the case here for Virginia Tech. They haven't played since February 6th. It's been 2.5 weeks that they've been off the court on CERN, and it makes the game very difficult to handicap for me. And I've kind of stayed away for these games for that reason. Georgia Tech, as you mentioned, Joe, does come in good current form. Not only that Miami win, but they beat Pittsburgh before that. They've now covered 3 straight back-to-back straight-up wins, but 3 straight covers as they only lost by 2 at Clemson before that. So just hard to know what to do with Virginia Tech. If they do play well in the first half here, though, I would look for a second-half play against them on either the halftime line or the in-game line, as these teams normally do not put together a full 40 minutes after the long layoff.
How do you handicap Tech here? I mean, do you anticipate they come out a little rusty here, Ralph? Maybe a first-half play, but Georgia Tech looks like they righted the ship pretty well last week.
Well, Joe, if you're going to ask me a question and put my answer in the question, then don't ask me the question. Yeah, I'm going to play the first half.
Is that what you're going to? I don't even know that's what you're going to play. Are you going to play the? It sounds like it. This had first half written all over it.
And I'm going to say this. I'm going to equate this game to the Richmond VCU game last week. We're going to talk about VCU now, but you have a team against a pressing defense that gets a lot of steals. Listen, this Georgia Tech D, Josh Pastner has them playing great D. Alvarado's a great point guard. They are top 40 in turnovers. I went back and looked at their turnovers. In their last 12 games, they have won the turnover battle in each game. They force turnovers. You have a rusty Virginia Tech team that hasn't practiced because of COVID. Georgia Tech is very rested because they had a COVID cancellation, but it was the opponent. So they practiced the entire week. They've just had the one game in the week. I see them pressing early. I see them pressing often. I see them jumping out to a lead. I like the Yellow Jackets first half.
Yeah, they had a suspension on that team as well. I'm not sure what the status of that is, Rob. Maybe you've heard something here, but I don't know. Tech's been pretty good at home. Georgia Tech's been pretty good on the road. How do you approach this game?
Yeah, real quick on the suspension, Joe, for Virginia Tech. It's their second leading scorer, Tyrese Radford, who's been out suspended from the team until March. So in a few days, they'll get him back, and then they'll become a different team. Although Texas Tech, when you go up and down their statistical sheet, they do disperse points really well, 1 through 7. But again, like both Steve and Ralph said, these pauses, I know we've mentioned it a lot before, but they're hard to handicap. They're so different in every single circumstance. We could make a case for a rusty team. We could make a case for a team that bounced back strong. Tough to know. I'll say this. Georgia Tech is a team that, and I don't know, Ralph and Steve, if you are like this as well, but in my personal betting, I have an affection for Georgia Tech this year, but I wasn't really sure for the majority of this season of how they were going to play. So I bet them for myself on occasion, but don't release them to clients because I don't want the clients to be on something that I'm experimenting with. Everything Ralph said about this team, Georgia Tech and Josh Pastner, true. And I'll add to it that when Alvarado and DeVoe, the 2 guards, both score in double digits, the team's undefeated, 6-0 in those games. So as the backcourt goes, so goes Georgia Tech. Virginia Tech certainly with a lot of capable guys as well. Both defenses have not been really stellar as of late. The 2 games before the pause for Virginia Tech, they gave up 76 and 83, which was uncharacteristic for them. I don't know how they're going to bounce back, but if they're going to give up points tonight, this thing has a very low total. And for Georgia Tech, recently, the shooting percentages they've allowed in 4 of their last 5 haven't been good. So maybe you can get a little something out of the full game total. That's probably the only way I would look here. Just not sure of anything else with Virginia Tech coming off this pause. You know, when you look at these two guys and line them up, there's not much separating these two teams. They're really a lot more equal than people would think. That's probably why the number's only 3.5 here. But Ralph asked earlier if late season senior night makes a difference. How about we just mention net ratings at this point? I know that if you're on the bubble, you probably belong on the bubble, but Georgia Tech is 51 in net rating coming into this game, and Vatek is 36. This would be a huge win for Josh Pastner and his team, which has the ambition of getting to the NCAA tournament. So I look for a really good effort out of Georgia Tech tonight.
All right, Georgia Tech it is. Want to remind you guys as well, best bets are up, ready to rock and roll, and they will be up at both Rob Vino's page, Steve Merrill's page, Ralph Michaels' page. All you guys have to do is head over to WagerTalk.com. Grab yourself those 3-day, 7-day, 30-day all-access packages, and you can guarantee yourself never to miss a play once they get posted. And there is a loaded card here tonight, not only in college hoops, but also NBA. And we'll talk about one more game before we get to our best bets here, and it's the Billigans taking on VCU here. And Ralph, I'm going to start with you because it just feels like this St. Louis team they're only 4-3 in the Atlantic 10 here, and it just feels like they should be better. They've been wildly inconsistent. Both teams not looking great in the last time out. So how do you have this one?
Well, 4-3, they had 2 losses to Dayton and then an ugly loss to LaSalle after that Dayton game. And I think that was a game back at the end of January where one poor performance cost them the next game as well. People ask all the time, can one player change your mind on a game when you're handicapping? And with this VCU team and with Nashawn Highland out tonight, yeah, it does change my mind. I would have been on VCU and what they can do to St. Louis on the road. But when you have Highland out, he's one of your 2 guards. That means the freshman guard is going to be handling the ball at Baldwin. You have a backup shooting guard now taking place. And I think it changes the entire dynamic of the team. And if you look at VCU, again, I'd love to play them off the loss. That was an ugly loss to George Mason, losing by 10. And if you say, well, Highland's out, he probably got hurt in the game. He still played 34 minutes. He got hurt in the end of the game, and now he's out. So no excuse for Virginia Commonwealth, who's also had some ugly performances as well. Highland off actually makes me lean a little bit with the over. Not enough to use an opinion, but it does have me make a lean on St. Louis as well.
Steve, Javante Perkins, as he goes, so do the Billigans here. He was shut down for the most part in that game over on Friday night against Dayton. But how are you going to look at this game here tonight?
Yeah, I'd be on St. Louis in this one. This is a game I was actually close to using for my pay plays today for my clients. Got a little pricey, though. As the screen showed, Virginia Commonwealth initially was -1.5. They were a slight favorite at some books yesterday when this opened. Now it's St. Louis -3.5. Obviously, Highland has a lot to do with that, as Ralph said. A lot of times teams step up. We talk about how when they don't have a star player, they actually play better than expected, especially in the NBA. But that's because all the guys on NBA rosters were college all-stars and the best players on their teams. College teams aren't as deep, and Highland is a very important player for VCU. Not only the leading scorer, but their best shooter. He hits 38% from beyond the arc. He's second on the team in steals. This is a pressure defense, as we know, with Virginia Commonwealth. So I think they're going to be at a tough run here against a good St. Louis team. And Ralph mentioned, VCU coming off the bad loss. Well, what about St. Louis coming off an even worse loss, in my opinion? 6-point road favorite. They lose by 23 at Dayton on the 19th on a Friday last week. So I think St. Louis is in a big bounce-back spot here, and I think they'll take advantage of VCU. One of the reasons sometimes teams play better without a star player is the opponent overlooks them. I don't think St. Louis overlooks them tonight. And they also have one of the best assist-to-turnover ratios in the conference, so they can handle that pressure, which once again won't be quite as strong without Highland in the lineup.
All right, and
Joe,
Rob,
in that game Steve was just talking about, that St. Louis game at Dayton, 19 of 70, 27% is what St. Louis. 27%. Wow. The four of us could shoot 27% in a game.
Yeah, well,
they shoot 47 on the season. They're actually a very good shooting team on the season as well.
That's
so
crazy.
That's why I do expect a bounce back. Yeah.
Talk to me, Vino. How are you going to approach this game, from a side or from a total perspective?
Well, listen, just to put a few more numbers to what all of you guys were just saying, St. Louis had only shot under 40% one time all season until what happened on Saturday against Dayton. Now, to Dayton's credit, that's a team that we've talked about here on this show in the past on Tuesdays, when Jalen Crutcher was the primary ball handler. And when I say primary, I mean only ball handler on that team. And they've gotten Rodney Chapman back. He was back for his second game in that game against St. Louis. And Dayton, reading some quotes before that, has become a very confident team with Chapman back, a senior starting guard. So maybe a team to look out for down the stretch in this A10, which seems to just be cannibalizing itself. Highland is everything in this game. He's absolutely everything, to me at least. I could still lay the price with St. Louis here because I think athletically, on paper, they're probably the more talented team to begin with, even with Highland in the lineup. Without him, I think St. Louis's guards have an easier time. Of course, without Highland, it shortens up what's not a deep VCU rotation. So it shortens up that press. And how effective will that press be? To Steve's point about NBA guys who step in and, things can actually, results can actually come out good in instances where a star player is hurt. In this case, Keyshawn Curry is the man who steps in for Nishawn Highland, who, by the way, goes by the nickname Busy Bones. And Curry only averages 5.8 points per game. I just don't see him filling the void. Steve went through some of Highland's statistics. You look at the next guy beneath him in most of those categories, and he's almost double what anybody else has. Best free throw shooter on top of everything else. St. Louis, again, I'll talk real quick here about this bubble situation where they're concerned. As of yesterday, they were number 48 in net ratings, VCU number 35. St. Louis really needs the win badly. They probably need to win the conference tournament because they missed so many games. Question could be asked, how would a committee look at a St. Louis victory over VCU without Highland? It's a realistic question. So they probably need to do it in convincing fashion. I think they can. I think you see a big bounce back here out of St. Louis and a team in VCU that I don't know what they're going to do without their leader in so many aspects. So for me, it would be St. Louis.
All right, St. Louis it is. And that means, guys, time for our best bets here on the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. We're going to start, of course, with our friends from the Gold Sheet, Ralph, and they're going to be looking, look at this, little West Virginia taking on TCU on the road here. They like the over in this matchup, Ralph.
Well, I'm glad you this game. I have a special guest.
Ooh.
Guys, I want to tell you, there are sliders, there are hoagies, there are footlongs, and there are party subs, and then you have the behemoth sandwich game of the year. This game, you have West Virginia off a 19-point comeback win on the road against Texas, and you have Baylor on deck, and they're a 7.5-point road favorite. This is my sandwich game of the year. See of Marco D'Angelo. I talked to Marco this morning, in fact. So,
you see what you did, Merrill? I blame you, Merrill. I blame you.
Very unprofessional to bring props on a basketball handicapping show. Very unprofessional.
To me, this is the most intriguing. I just want to talk about this game. I know I didn't schedule the game, and I should have. But to me, this is by far the most intriguing game. Because if you are a situational handicapper like Marco, this would be probably your game of the year. I mean, you're looking at West Virginia is probably in the toughest sandwich spot anyone's been in all year. But if you are if you read newspapers and you handicap by information, Huggins loves what they did against Texas. It was a 3.5-hour bus ride down to where they're going. They had 2 days of practice. He talked about how well they played. He talked about the letdown spot. They're in a bonding mode because they're staying in Texas again, taking a bus to Waco, and a couple more days in the hotel. So while the sandwich spot is incredible in this game, I actually do like everything Huggins said, everything West Virginia has done bonding, and we'll see what happens. But the gold sheet play of the day on West Virginia TCU over the total.
Over it. Love it. All right, good stuff there. And I'm almost afraid to do this, but Stevie Merrill, 2 R's and 1 L. You watched the prop master go at it here, Ralph, and, a la Mr. Chicken Wing, Marco D'Angelo. So what's your best bet here tonight, Stevie?
Yeah, I was thinking today when I was asked to do the show, this is so nice. I don't have to be on. I can just be a normal handicapper because I think it's extremely inappropriate to bring props. And I wasn't even planning on doing it. I never would have done it. And then you're not going to see me do it. I'm not going to bring props to a basketball handicapping show because I just don't believe in it. And I'm going to give a play that in normal situations would have been great because I'm using St. Louis. And we just talked about it. That would have given me so much extra time with the shot clock. But I don't need it because I'm not doing props today. This is a serious segment. But I do really like St. Louis in this spot. It was the one game that just missed my cut as a best bet for my paid clients. I have one best bet tonight at WagerTalk.com in college, one in the NBA. This was the next game that was on the line for me. So I do like St. Louis minus 3.5. The one thing that kept it off from being an official best bet was that the line got pricey. As I mentioned, it opened +1, 1.5. It's now minus 3.5. But as Ralph, Rob, and I all said, VCU is a much weaker team without Highland. I don't think they can just flip a switch and replace him tonight. He's probably their best defensive player, by far their best offensive player. And then on top of that, you've got St. Louis in a real focus spot after that terrible loss against Dayton in which they shot 27%. Rob had a good stat there. He mentioned they've only shot below 41 other time. Guess what? That was 3 games ago. They shot 36 against Rhode Island. They went out the next 2 games, went up straight up 2-0, straight up at ATS with 28 and 21-point wins in those next 2 games. So I look for a big bounce back from St. Louis minus 3.5. That is an early tip, 6 p.m. Eastern. Yep. On CBS Sports Network tonight on Tuesday.
Yep. Get on that one, guys. All right, Rob, I know outside of the headset, you ain't going to be busting out no props here. At least I don't think so here. It's early yet. But go ahead, Vino, talk to us. Best bet tonight. Where are you going?
Yeah, I'm sorry to report that I don't have a skit to do with my best bet. I'll pick that up next time. I'm going to also add to it. I'm going to apologize right here to Steve Merrill for giving Joe material for a monologue to continue the bashing of you. Steve, next time we'll talk about it in private. I promise. Joe will use anything to get at us.
Rob, when you win as much as I win, it's nice to be humbled occasionally once a week. It's all right.
I'm going to say really, really fast here that my best bet is Florida Auburn over 154 because when I broke down the game, my notes were too expensive and they drew the ire of Joe for taking too long. So I'm not going to say another word about it. Florida Auburn over 154, 154.5, whatever you want to give me. I think the game gets 160 or above.
Well done, Rob. That's right. Merrill just won 2 more games. My best bet here tonight. I'm sorry, I don't understand the line, and I am not losing any more money on Missouri. So give me Ole Miss tonight to bounce back in this spot. Give me the 3.5 points. Missouri's only 5-5 against the number at home. I love Kermit Davis. I love how far this team has come. I love the upperclassmen. I love the 3.5 points. I'm taking Ole Miss here tonight against Mizzou. Let's take a look.
So wait a minute.
Oh,
I bring Marco's face on and you skip over me for best bets? Do you hate Marco that much?
Jesus. Well, listen, you can't take it. Go ahead, Ralph. Go ahead. I was going to hit you on the way out, but go ahead. I got Ole Miss in. Go ahead. You got it.
All right. Well, we know Gonzaga's number 1 in Ken Palm, and we know that Mississippi Valley State is number 357. I've used Mississippi Valley State twice. And guess what? I am using them again. Not only am I using them as a best bet, it is an actual client release. They're getting 28.5 against Texas Southern. Listen, when you're 1-17, Steve mentioned it, everyone looks past you. This Texas Southern team should not be favored. They've only won 6 division games. They've only won 1 game by double digits all year, and that was a 17-point game against a team just as bad as Mississippi Valley State. Mississippi Valley 3-1 ATS the last 4. Texas Southern 1-6 against conference foes, 0-4 against teams with losing records. Mississippi Valley State easily covers. Again, not only a best bet, it is an actual client release on team number 357 in the Ken Palm ratings.
Listen, guys, this is me hitting bet right now here on the play, because when Ralph busts out Mississippi Valley State as a play, there's a reason for it here, guys. Check it out one more time. Well, here is the best bet recap here in case you missed it between all the net cutting. Ralph Michaels, Mississippi Valley State, give him the 4 touchdowns plus. Rob Vino, he likes the over 154.5 in that Florida-Auburn game tonight. Stevie Merrill, that's right, Stevie in the middle, going St. Louis, late at 3.5. That's an early start, guys, so make sure you head over there. And I'm going to go Ole Miss. I do not trust Missouri at all. Give me the 3.5. And West Virginia, TCU, over 145, which happens to get the endorsement from Mr. Chicken Wing, Marco D'Angelo. And now, there he is, Marco. We appreciate your time. I have no idea at what point I lost total control of this show, but on behalf of Steve Merrill, Rob Vino, Ralph Michaels, make sure you guys head over to WagerTalk.com today. Grab their best bets for tonight. It's a loaded card. NBA shows coming up next as well. Make sure you drop in to see us there. In the meantime, hit that bell in the upper right-hand corner. Come back and join us tomorrow. We get to do it all over again, which is all exciting stuff here that we get to come back, maybe, if they allow us to do it all over again tomorrow. We'll see you then. Best of luck with your plays, guys. Thanks so much.
First-time customers at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com receive $25 in WagerBucks after your first initial purchase. All you have to do is sign up, make your purchase, and you'll get $25 in credit.